For more, we can speak to our chief foreign editor, Robert Parsons. Hello to you, Rob. Emmerson Mnangagwa winning re-election, but lots of questions about the fairness of this vote.
Yeah, I mean, scarcely free and fair. Even before we got to voting day, the odds were really heavily stacked against the Citizens Coalition for Change, the CCC party. State media lavished praise on Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, the ruling party. Nothing at all on the CCC. CCC members were arrested. Their rallies broken up. Chiefs have a big influence on how people vote in the rural areas, who are bribed with things like cars and solar panel kits. It was not a free and fair election. And the Economist magazine quipped on Friday, one of the few things manufactured in Zimbabwe is support for the ruling party. And that pretty much sums it up. If this had been a free and fair election, given the circumstances, given where Zimbabwe is today, one would have thought there was a pretty good chance that the CC party would have won. Given the fact that it's estimated by many that real GDP in Zimbabwe today is lower than it was at the Declaration of Independence in 1980. That's a pretty devastating statistic. The other things as well. Annualized inflation, according to the government itself, is at 101%. Most young people are unemployed. The value of the currency has plummeted. A few years ago, it was 1 to the dollar, 1 on 1, and now it's 6,000 to 1. This is not a country that's in very good shape. The only party that's been in power since 1980 is ZANU-PF. Mnangagwa himself has been in power since 2017 when he ousted Robert Mugabe in a coup d'etat. He was elected in 2018. He has sole responsibility, in other words, for the failing economy, for the massive unemployment, and yet he's managed to win this election. Interesting that the Southern African Regional Bloc observer team, who was in Zimbabwe for the elections, along with many others as well, roundly condemned the elections, saying that they were unfair. Regionally, this doesn't paint Zimbabwe in a very good light.
Yeah, and despite all this criticism, this Sunday, Mnangagwa called Zimbabwe a mature democracy. What's next for the country? Well,
the outlook obviously is not very good at the moment, particularly for young people with such heavy unemployment. And Mnangagwa, known colloquially in Zimbabwe as the crocodile for very good reason, for his harsh role under Robert Mugabe, where effectively he was his enforcer, particularly in the 1980s, for the role he played in the repression of the Ndebele people, when thousands were killed, something he denies, but it's pretty well documented. This is not a man who seems very likely to change his ways, although last time round, before the election, back in 2018, he promised reforms. This time round, he's promised more, promised the economy will be turned around. But he has done pretty much nothing. There have been, there have been some efforts at reconciliation with the Ndebele people, but not enough to satisfy most people. So it doesn't seem like this is a man, who's likely to change in any way for the better. So the outlook for ordinary Zimbabweans is pretty bleak, given the fact, too, that the external debt is a colossal $18 billion US dollars, and there's no chance of any sort of restructuring of the debt until Zimbabwe starts to launch its reforms. And at the moment, it seems very likely that that's going to happen. It's very difficult to see, where there is a little pinprick of light.
Yeah. Rob, thank you very much. Rob Parsons, 24's chief foreign editor.